Hello, everybody. This is Elaine Bartlett, and you are stepping with me right this moment into the Purple Portal, where we will spend the next 55 minutes figuring out what's happening, what's up, and what's happening, and why the heck did my darling precious computer have to become so infected. I trust that many of you got the email yesterday saying, be careful, don't open. And one of you actually had reached me just before I went on the air out in Texas. My guy, Jeff, here says you're okay, as long as you didn't go too far with it. You could just open it and then not do anything. So I think everybody's okay. And my wonderful computer is in sick bay. But because I'm a contemplative being, I have really given this some introspection and reflection because I want to know what's happened to it and therefore to me. So the first thing I determined was an infection means I have to detox. So once again today, I put my body onto a detox program. I believe our computers are an extension of us, just as our automobile is. So I look to it for guidance, and I know it looks to me for guidance. And it's interesting because my Jeff here at the station, it gets a little confusing. I have two precious Jeffs in my life, Jeff at this station, and another Jeff is my computer guru. So Jeff at the station, had some good insights for me. And I suspect through contemplation and everybody's input, particularly Jeff's, I understand that I've opened too many things. Now, what that's about is I have to be more boundary-oriented in opening myself to other people's energy. Everybody gets to play the game of life the way they want to. And that's where I come back with a deeper appreciation of trying to hold my own boundaries and be protective, and certainly not absorbing the other one's stuff. So my computer, once again, has been a great, great teacher about discernment and being too open with no boundaries. And that doesn't mean I'm not of great service. It simply means learning discrimination and discernment. And learning that the presence of me is all aware. So it's kind of working with that presence to cultivate a greater sense of awareness. I did not go down the pathway yesterday of cursing my computer, which probably, in the old days I might have, this is such an inconvenience. I calmly, once I heard from computer guru Jeff, I simply unplugged it and brought it to the hospital and left it in very good hands. And I do have to say, there's some gook on it. So we have to be careful of people sliming us. Please don't allow people to slime you with their gook. Nor do they have the privilege of repeatedly throwing up on you. There comes a time when it's very important to step back and stop it. So I'll give you a couple of the things that has happened to me, aside from the computer. So let me sort of wind that up. Let me tell you that because it's in good hands, I really can only bless two things here very, very deeply. Bless the fact that I have found an integrity-filled computer guru. That is huge, especially for someone like myself who has had, the roaming bug for a few years. So this is a great gift. So anybody who lives anywhere remotely in South Florida and you need a computer guru, his name is Jeff, and he is with Da Vinci computer systems. That's step one. Step two, I became very gratitude-filled that I actually have the money this month to afford him detoxing my whole computer. And it's interesting. It's kind of interesting to me that it happened at this time, because not only did I understand the value of detoxing my physical body yet again today, for different reasons, a few days ago, I started the detox without understanding that my computer was sick. So my body started the detox, and here's what I'm doing. And it's to balance the acid and the alkaline in my system. And I lovingly share this with you, all of you. I think it's worth doing, and it's about a 2-week process, and here's what it is. You go to the supermarket and you buy a bag of organic lemons. You take the lemons home. You squeeze the lemons, and I actually have a lemon, like a juice squeezer, so you get all the juice. You add that to a cup of water. I prefer warm water. You add a quarter of a teaspoon, or to taste, this wonderful healing Manuka honey, which I get the top grade. The one I'm using now is called the doctor level. It's level 20. It's a 20 factor. Then I add about a teaspoonful of baking soda. So I went and bought a new box. Don't use the box that you've had in the refrigerator for 6 years or more. Use a new box. Add this baking soda very carefully, because it tends to fizz on up. Stir it around and drink it down. You will find the detox is awesome. I suggest you do this minimum twice a day, and if you can, 3 times a day. And all of that just because I needed a detox, and then my computer further agreed that I needed a detox. But it's very important for us to keep the acid and the alkaline in our system balanced. We get out of balance, number 1, with the stress, number 2, with the crummy diets that we're eating, and number 3, improper air, water, sleep, etc., etc. So you want to get that back in balance. Actually, last week, a girlfriend had sent me a whole little container full of capsules to get the acid and the alkaline balance back, which I began taking. But once this kind of crossed my path, I was even happier. Is it the most happiest drink I've ever had to swig down? No, but I've had worse. And it reminds me that indeed food is medicine. And of course, we have been violating it and abusing it for a few thousand years, but it's really become exacerbated over the last 100 years. So a great, great remedy for you. Here's a little thing that happened this morning. And again, it's kind of been unfolding. A dear friend of mine called, I guess last Friday or so, and she was very concerned because she felt that perhaps something was wrong with her body. She's in the healing arts. Those of us in the healing arts, we know. We pay attention to our body. Our body's our best friend. And as much as we'd like to ignore it at times, which indeed she had for a couple of months, she finally paid attention and thought, no, there's something wrong. So she called me and wanted me to look within my oracles, is there something wrong? Should she go see a Western doctor? I am not completely opposed to Western doctors. For some of you, they're still working. They just don't work for people like us that are very sensitized and in the healing arts, or they work to a lesser degree. So I was very careful, very objective, put down all of my judgments about it, because when you need it, you need it. Look, last year, as many of you know, all right, I had to take penicillin or the equivalent of. When you got to do it, you got to do it. I still think we have to learn other ways, but that's unfolding. So as I was checking my oracle for this friend, I became rather alarmed. I used the words, the oxymoron, "You are good and sick." Well, that caught her attention because I don't use that phrase lightly. I said, you need to speak with someone. You either need to get to a Western doctor or you need to get to one of your people because you're in hot water and you can't mess around with it. There's sometimes when you need to be shocked because I'm so gentle and so, you miss the memo sometimes. And sometimes I got to really snap you between the eyebrows to get your attention. Well, that got her attention. She hung up and she immediately made the appointment this morning to go see someone of our ilk that could recalibrate and really determine what is wrong without a whole battery of MRIs and PET scans and CAT scans and every other kind of scan. And indeed, pretty much after the first assessment, the woman said to her almost my exact words, "You are good and sick." So that woman proceeded to make some adjustments and corrections, told her what the issue is. And my friend called me as she then left there and was now headed to work. And she gave me the report, and then my job was to determine, did that woman get it? Did she nail it? Or is there something else, again, that perhaps Western medicine would see and could see? Well, it didn't look like it. It looked as if this was a two-part deal, that my friend had to do her work and the corrections that this other woman made would settle in. It would settle itself down and settle and go, My concern was because earlier, the few days prior, I knew deep in my soul that she had an opportunity for an exit from this lifetime. And that was not something that I shared with her, but I absolutely knew it to be true. And so over the weekend, I did my part very quietly, very under the radar, without her knowledge, and just worked to coordinate with her presence. What do you want? You want to come? You want to go? You want to stay? I'm with you, whatever you choose. So as she's driving, all of a sudden, she's concentrating on what I'm saying, so to the point where she didn't get upset, thank goodness, but she kind of, well, it looks like I've missed my exit. To which I simply said, yes, I believe you did. And then she got it. She understood that indeed she could have exited, but she has missed her exit at this time. That is just so cool. The subtleties of how life gives us every single sign that we need. And the sign was, that was close, but you missed your exit. So you have to laugh at this stuff and not take ourselves so seriously. I mean, certainly it was kind of a life or death situation, but I didn't take it seriously. And as I lighten up, she can lighten up. And as she lightens up, her spirit can stay and continue on her path of learning and service. So it's pretty darn cool how it works. And the other happy case was a couple of nights ago. Again, I mind my own business in life. I am diligent. I'm doing what I'm doing. Those who have asked me to take them under their wing, they're under my wing quietly, unobtrusively, no shenanigans. And yet sometimes I'm like, okay, I gotta go. And so it's always amusing to me where I think I have to go, because I don't need to go anywhere. I've got the groceries, I've got the stuff. But all of a sudden I'm like, no, I got to go to this one store to get, I think that was my journey for some more lemons, more organic lemons for my detox process. So so the checkout lines were long, everything was long. And I'm thinking, That's okay. I'm cool. And so I kind of moseying around thinking I'm really cool, not paying any attention to anything other than I'm cool. And then, there it is, the checkout counter that has just two little people in front of me with not much stuff. So I get right there. But I'm watching this gal at the register. She's magnificent. She's a woman of color, which I'm thinking to myself, oh, I wish she could see her colors, because I was sure she could not. Because her chest was caved in, her shoulders were sunk, and there was that dreadful, sorrowful air of resignation. So I stood happily where I was supposed to be, reminding this beautiful woman to hold on to her dreams. That's all I kept hearing. Hold on to your dreams. Hold on to your dreams. So finally, it's my turn. And of course, because she's so resigned, these positions in these stores are unconscionable. They rob your soul, your spirit, your energy. I can't, for the life of me, understand why can't you have a little stool? You're not going to fall asleep at the job, and you'll get up when you have to. So I have nothing but great respect for these people that man these horrific positions where people, one after another, are indifferent, rude, obnoxious, careless, not interested. To me, it's a downright assassination of the spirit. So I'm happy Susie Sunshine here, reminding her mentally, hold on to your dream. So my first object was to be gracious to her and ask her, how are you this evening? She was so deadened by everything that had happened, it wasn't penetrating. So I gently looked at her, carefully penetrating her vision. No, really, how are you this evening? And finally, she kind of snapped to a little bit, and with intensity, I bored into her spirit and simply said, you must hold on to your dream. And she was almost unconscious. And I repeated it again. No, you must hold on to your dream. And she said, as she's coming conscious, but it's very difficult. I have to support myself. I'm the only one that supports me. And I said, I know. I stand in your shoes. I understand. Hold on to your dream. And by that third time, she looked at me. The veil dropped, her protective veil dropped, and with complete trust, she said to me, do you know my dream? And I said, with complete knowingness, that Elaine Bartlett doesn't know her dream, but my presence knows her dream. With complete trust back to her, I said, I do know your dream, and you must hold on to it. All of a sudden, her sunken chest, it's like I took a bellows to her lungs. It just puffed out a little bit, and her shoulders squared away. And that's why I had to go get some lemons. You gotta understand, this is a service organization here. Step out of yourself. Every breath you take is an opportunity to serve. You might not be paid for it. I'll never see her again. But it's huge, because this beautiful woman who thinks she's a black woman was more able now to step into the truth of her. She and I, we are women of color. Maybe her color is now a little bit more orange or blue or whatever her color is, it can shine. I knew my color was shining more after it. And that's just a simple, humble exchange of me getting out of my way. I was tired that night. I didn't have to extend anything to her. I could have remained self-absorbed, in as much of a rush as the next person, and as dismissive. This whole business of dismissiveness, it has gotten to such a frightening level that I can only tell you, it stops with you and me. We're the only ones that are going to stop it. Who are we dismissing? And who the heck do we think we are to be so arrogantly dismissive? You're looking at God in drag, who, yes, maybe temporarily they've not only forgotten it, it's been beaten out of them. On my darkest moments, I forget it. And I sure want somebody to remind me that my color is twinkling and it is bright. So, I don't know. Lose your grip and get a new grip. That's all I can tell you. Oh, there's something very, very important happening tonight. It is it's free, Free. I don't know what time it starts, but it is the repeat of the 7-part series, The Sacred Plant. Now, I actually spoke of it a time or two ago, probably alluded to it last time. And today, oh, what the heck, I'm going to be a whole lot braver about the dang sacred plant because I have shared it with a few people under the radar, very quietly, very clandestinely, thinking, oh, geez, I surely don't want to get in any danger because of it. The heck with it. You deserve to know that there are plants on the planet that can help you if you are good and sick, meaning if you're very sick. So the sacred plant happens to be the marijuana plant, and you and I need to learn about it. As I have begun to put down my fear about it, because, oh my God, did I buy that Kool-Aid that's been circulating for as long as I could remember, that this would screw up my entire life and make me sick, and I'd probably kill myself. Yeah, not so fast. Education, information will show you if you are sick. Now remember, everything can be violated. 1 cupcake could be your saving grace. If you eat 5 dozen, you're going to be good and sick, all right? So discernment, discretion, but you need to learn about it. We've been terrified that there's something very wrong with it, and yes, indeed, the quote potheads have given it a very bad name because they've misused it oftentimes. But I'll tell you what, when it's used in its sacredness for healing, a friend of mine who chose to go the sacred plant way earlier this year, she was diagnosed with cancer of the lymph nodes, lungs, pancreas, you name it. She stem to stern, okay? And her attitude was, I need to learn. She didn't know a dang thing about it, but she did look to me for validation. What did I think? Well, at the time when I validated it, quite frankly, I knew nothing. Talk about going out on a limb. I knew nothing, except that I knew that Western medicine did not contribute to the longevity of my own sister on the planet. So I knew what didn't work. So I said, you got nothing to lose. Okay, so the PET scan, the most recent PET scan, 3 of the tumors have disappeared. 1 or 2 has shrunk, and a couple of more did surface. However, she's not ill. She feels wonderful, and she's only had about 8 weeks of the treatment. She's going to have more treatment. I don't know how this thing works. The only thing I know is it's a sacred plant that you and I have been misinformed about. And because of that, there's all sorts of fear about it. And because of that, you tend to turn to toxic, poisonous drugs. You need an education. If you want to listen to this series tonight, I suggest you Google the sacred plant. If you cannot find it, because they've sent me, because I've seen it already once, they've sent me now access to it again. If you can't find it and you want to get to it, you need to email me today. And when oh, geez, dang, I don't have a computer. Oh, isn't that interesting? Oh, that's really kind of cosmically twisted. I don't know how to get it to you then. Somebody will, and you need to find the information to begin to help yourself and to begin to see true life stories and why this has been demonized. Why? What's in it for the pharmaceutical companies that they feel they have to demonize it? And I can tell you this, a whole lot's in it. So I didn't want to get this education, but I am oh so happy that I did, because now, with this smattering of information that I put down my fear and allowed myself to get, at least a half a dozen people have been assisted and will at least look differently. And yes, blend it with Western medicine. There's no problem with blending. It's kind of like this vax stuff that some of you were so twitted about that you wouldn't even get the information. I think that makes me more angry than anything, that you won't buck up and get the information. I mean, really? You don't have to follow it, but to blindly be following stuff because you've been told? That doesn't work anymore. There's too much light on the planet, for heaven's sake. So with the vax thing, it's not saying don't ever have a vaccination. And that's why people wouldn't honor the videos and just watch it. It was saying, here's what we've seen. If you space it out, your child, especially your boy child, may not suffer from autism. Space it out. Is that so heretical? I mean, really? So when you see, if you open yourself to learn about this plant, I'll tell you what, I who do not have a green thumb at all, thought, geez, I think I have to develop a green thumb and figure out how to cultivate this stuff because it should be in my green smoothies every day. Why would I say that? Because now I have learned it would prevent Alzheimer's. It would prevent Parkinson's. My beloved brother has Parkinson's. It enhances a lot of stuff. So you may want to check it out. I'm so sorry, my computer is in sick bay, but that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. It's interesting, too. Of course, this particular series points out a very, very disturbing fact in the United States. And the fact is, if you live in some certain zip codes, you can have access to this without going to jail. If you live in another zip code, not only can you not have access to it, you'll die. I mean, really, think about this. This is very dramatic. No wonder I'm driven crazy by it all. All right, so today, if any of you have any comments or questions, call, now's the time, 321-806-3159. It's Elaine at 321-806-3159. If you want to reach me, as soon as Guru Jeff gets my computer back to me, you can reach me at purpleportal777 at gmail.com. So once again, purpleportal77@gmail.com. Those of you who have my other email, have a great time. Go for it. This is a very interesting day today, galactically speaking, because we enter the 13th moon of the galactic calendar. And this is the moon of presence. And this moon extends from today through July 24th. July 25th, which I know will be connected before then, but it's called a day out of time. And that's a very important day. So the whole tone of this month is about endurance, transcendence, and presence. So it's a big opportunity to focus on you feeling the interconnectedness of all life, just as I did with this beautiful gal who was checking me out. I didn't feel the interconnectedness of all life. I became it. That presence united us. And it's the cycle to be present to the presence. And this presence moves through all manifestations, every single one of them. And it's guiding everything. Nothing's happening without it, which I've had to really contemplate, because that means it's happening in the things that don't appeal to me or that frighten me. The presence is in the plant. So I've really understood that. And this is a month where you can embody qualities of any of the previous tones galactically. That brings me to a point about galactic information. Because the galactic year will be starting July 26th, there is a new calendar that comes out. Some of you, there's a gal, Shannon, if you're listening up in Tuxedo, New York, I know you know what the heck I'm talking about. And I've always felt very comforted because you do, somebody out there knows. I'm going to suggest to many of you, it's not a big expense, it's $20-something, that you start to appreciate and learn about this calendar. And let me see if I can quickly come up with the, what is it here? Wait. And I would tell you, order it. They need your support. Not only do they need your support, I mean, this is done as a labor of love from these people, which I'm thinking, wow, I got a lot of love, but this is above and beyond what love, I mean, this is dedication. So it's time for us to support them, and it's time for you to benefit from the galactic calendar. So here's how you would do it. You would go on to 13, the number 13, moon, MOON.com. 13moon.com. Their whole thrust of energy is toward raising the frequency on planet Earth. Well, the only way you're going to raise the frequency on planet Earth is to raise your frequency. And we sort of overlook that part. All the do-gooders are busy raising the frequency on the planet while their life is a total wreck. No. Focus on raising your frequency. And we do it by loving service one to another, by being patient when you want to really tear somebody's head off, by never, ever overreacting. That's called walking the central path. If you don't overreact to something, you've raised your frequency. And therefore, you've made a special indentation on the entire planet Earth and raised her frequency. Another way to raise your frequency is called sincerity and a sense of inner purity. Sincerity is something that's among the missing for many, many people anymore. We've lost that ability to be sincere. I could see it in the people that were in front of me on the line before this dear, beautiful woman. They weren't sincere. Again, I'll use the word dismissive. And I hate to tell you, they were a different color than she. And yes, it was a case of black and white, but my eye saw, oh, you poor white people, you don't know how your colors have dropped. This woman, her colors were ready to be ignited right away. The other people, no. Dull and dense and heavy. And the heaviness was a heaviness of thinking and a heaviness of beliefs. So they weren't sincere. They didn't wish her well. They couldn't even look at her. So sincerity, very, very important in raising your frequency. And purity, that too. That's a lost word. As a little Catholic girl, I was terrified by that word because, oh my God, if you had an impure thought, you had to go to confession. I didn't even know what an impure thought meant in those days. But purity of spirit, that sense of, seeing things properly, looking at beauty and honoring it and respecting it. I look out at the trees right now, and where we live in South Florida, it's a virtual paradise and a kaleidoscope of color. And the trees are pure. And I breathe it in and thank them that they're so magnificent. I'll be out walking and I will stop and touch a bud or a little thing of a plant. I don't know much about plants, but I'll stop and tell it how pure and beautiful it is. And thankful. Another way to raise the planet and yourself. How about dropping your selfishness? We've become so selfish as a people, we don't even know we're selfish. We're selfish. We're selfish in how we behave to ourselves, actually. But we're certainly selfish in relationships. Cultivating the virtue of perseverance. This would raise your frequency. When you start something, finish it. That sounds easy enough. People tell me that's really hard. And it's become challenging. Not hard, it's challenging because we have so much that interferes with our ability to persevere. We're like little wild animals. On to the next thing. Quick, hurry, quick. If you want to stabilize your frequencies, here's one for you. Look very carefully at what you're drinking, okay? It's called alcohol. Be more and more discerning. Drink less and less until it's none. Because alcohol, it pushes you up. It's like chocolate. It pumps you up, and then it drops you. Now, it may not drop you for 24, 34, 48 hours, and you won't then remember, that's what dropped me. Same with food. If you want to change your frequency and stabilize into a higher frequency, choose better and better food, more food that's alive. I had a friend over the weekend. Her husband became quite incapacitated, would be the loving word to use. He actually almost couldn't even move. He was in such pain. And it was determined after a trip to the emergency room that he had gout. Maybe. I think it's a lot more than that, but that's what he's willing to take right now. I've been with him while he's had food, and I've been with the wife, and I understand the way the food's hurting them. I understand by their choices, but worse than that, because he doesn't want to have food in the house. Get this one. Because he thinks he'll eat it. Yeah. That's what it's there for. The wife is not allowed to bring food in. So wife eats half of her portion at dinner and takes the other portion home and has it then for breakfast. Okay, but again, this is about acquiring knowledge, and this is a bright woman. Knowledge says leftovers have little or no chi, meaning life force, left in them. So it's kind of like, why don't you have a piece of cardboard? It'll be kinder. And she became a little defensive with that. But, you know, I can be really super patient for year upon year upon year until I see that you're getting hurt physically, outwardly. All the while, hurt's been going on inwardly, and I'm like, I will gently put it out, I'll gently put it out, I'll gently put it out, and then finally, I gotta go, stop! You're smart. Would you read? Would you look? You Google junk on the computer. Google something healthy. And learn about the food you're eating. The more we put in living food, the clearer we're going to think. The more clarity in your thoughts, you're going to make better thought choices. And here's one that if I've heard this word once in the last 10 days, I got to tell you, someone's used it every single day, at least once. And it's a word that I tell you, I don't particularly care for swearing. The F word, not particularly something I'm going to cotton to unless I got to get your attention. But this word, this is a 4-letter word that's actually, it supersedes the F word, and it's called hate. And I have heard people that know better, use the word hate and hatred with such force and such vengeance that I actually had to pull back. I couldn't even address it. And thank God it wasn't directed toward me, although I say that and think, well, that's really dumb because I am all in all, as you are. So if the hatred is directed toward Joe Schmo, it might as well be toward me under the law of one. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to repeat it 3 times. Hate equals death. Hate equals death. Hate equals death. Love equals life. Love equals life. Love equals life. And there's a reason to give something 3 times today. It will allow you to tear down your old infrastructure and rebuild a new one. But you got to really look at what you're hating. The more hatred, the lower the frequency on this planet. And boy, is that ever evident. Every which way we turn with the horror of war, the horror of poverty, the horror of ignorance and not enough education. That's all hatred-based. So another way to heighten your frequency, and some of you I know are very good at this and really into it, yoga. Yoga will heighten the frequency, and so does Qigong, because they are exercises that move the energies, the heavenly energies from without, and they concentrate them within the temple, and then they release the blockages in the temple in a very comforting way onto the planet Earth. Earth, she is magical, and she is the queen of healing. So when you're releasing some toxicity into her from your beliefs and patterns and thinking and however the release is happening, she's okay handling that. That is not abuse. That's her job. And as she transmutes that, of course, that's her way of raising the frequencies. So it's pretty cool. All right. Any exercise actually does help release stuff and can heighten your frequency. You just have to be careful, though, of what kind of exercise it is. Nature, example, bicycling, lovely. Swimming, lovely. Have a little jog. Walking, of course. So they're happy, natural exercises. Nature always heightens your frequency. Get out in it. All right, we're down to about the last 4 minutes here, so if anybody has anything they want to shout out. I know I've been pretty strong today, but you can shout it out. 321-806-3159. All right, I was working with the Osho energy today a lot. Sometimes that energy just calls me. Let me tell you about the Osho cards. I do actually have in my happy little Studio 106, I do have some sets of Osho cards if anybody would like to order them. I also have a couple of copies of Gene Keys, which I'm going to touch on in a moment here. And I also have one copy left of Living Reality. So I've got some very fine tools for any of you that want to reach out and find them through me. All right, so here's what Osho had to say today. The card was number 20 for those of you who are aware of what that means, and it is Beyond Illusion. And here's what even from 2014, I have underlined: not to look outside of yourself for what is real. It is only within. When you focus on externals, too often you get caught up in judgments. This is good, this is bad, I want this, I don't want that. These judgments keep you trapped in illusions, keeps you trapped in sleepiness, in old habits and patterns. Drop your opinionated mind and move inside. That's where reality exists. Interestingly enough, that ties right in with the part of the Gene Keys number 32, which is fascinating. So for those of you who have the Gene Keys, number 32 is up and running for today and tomorrow. And it ties into, let me give you a little peek here. All that supports and nourishes you is not on the outside. It's on the inside. And it stimulates you getting in touch with your lower frequency to transmute it to the higher frequencies. That's the value of number 32, and that's why I'm sort of beating the drum here today of changing the frequency and getting in touch with what is the higher side and learning to listen and persevere and preserve your life force. You're so worth it, you know. Come on, gang. We can do this. We can't do it individually, although oddly the paradox is we must do it individually. And as quickly as we do ourselves, we got to reach out and hold each other's hand, which is what I love to do every Tuesday with you. I love to hold your hand, hold your spirit in my heart, so that it can rekindle in you your desire to shine and twinkle as you are designed. That is your sacred design. Be who you are. Be the shining one.